Assassin's Creed is getting a live-action Netflix series. Forget about leaping off of a tall building into a conveniently placed pile of hay, because Netflix just rolled out a Scrooge McDuckian pile of cash to land a live-action Assassin's Creed series on their streaming service. Hot on the heels of the Netflix Anime Festival giving us a first look at Pacific Rim the Black, Godzilla Singular Point, and Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, Netflix and Ubisoft announced plans on Tuesday to develop multiple projects based on the long-running mega-popular Assassin's Creed video game series. Now, the first series in development is a, quote, epic, genre-bending live-action adaptation, end quote, and they're currently searching for a showrunner. Now, the series will be executive produced by Ubisoft's Jason Altman and Danielle Krennic, and while I read genre-bending to me, they're going to have plenty of scenes set in a modern-day Abstergo facility, in addition to seeing assassins wreak historical havoc across ancient history. Well, I hope they place a greater emphasis on the latter rather than the former, because if you saw the movie, well, you know what I'm talking about. Now, in case you've been living under a rock for the past decade or so, Assassin's Creed is a popular stealth action-adventure video game series by Ubisoft. Now, the basic formula is that there's a never-ending war for the fate of mankind between two organizations. You have the Knights Templar, who fight to control mankind, and the Assassins, who fight for peace and free will, and use little knives that are hidden up their sleeves. Now, the sci-fi twist is that usually, in the present day, there are descendants of the Assassins who are sent back in time through a virtual reality machine that allows them to access their ancestors' genetic memory in the hopes that it'll reveal the location of powerful relics that could tip this ancient battle in one way or the other. You know, because video games. But mostly it's a lot of stealthy murder and open-world exploration and jumping off of beautifully rendered UNESCO World Heritage sites into those aforementioned piles of hay and somehow never breaking a bone. As for what those other Ass Creed projects might be, well, one is almost definitely an Assassin's Creed anime series from Castlevania producer Adi Shankar. Back in 2017, Shankar, who also created that ultra-gritty Katie Sackhoff starring Power Rangers short as part of his bootleg universe, spilled the beans on his Facebook page. I played the first edition of Assassin's Creed the year I moved to Los Angeles to pursue my dream. At that moment, I knew absolutely no one in the industry and could never have imagined that one day Ubisoft would ask me to take the world of Assassin's Creed and create an original story set in it as an anime series. Now, considering just how good the Castlevania anime series is, this honestly feels like a no-brainer for Netflix and Ubisoft to get the most bang for their buck on this partnership. Now, between Castlevania, The Witcher, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, and now Assassin's Creed, Netflix is clearly betting big on turning popular video games into TV shows. And before you say, Dan, The Witcher's actually based on the novels, please stop pushing your glasses up and acknowledge that the global popularity of the video game franchise played a significant role in that show getting made in the first place. Also, that's definitely your real voice. Now, so far, it seems that TV adaptations are the way to go for video games rather than trying to shoehorn them into a feature film. The question of why video game movies are always so bad is something I've explored at length in the past here at Nerdist. Typically, the challenge is how can you condense what can be anywhere from a 10-hour experience to a 100-hour experience into a satisfying 2-hour experience, because you're also sacrificing the agency players exercise in playing a video game in exchange for the passive enjoyment of watching a movie. Now, that can be mitigated to a degree through the medium of television. You can give these sprawling narratives the room they need to breathe. You can let these storytellers put their mark on these tales. You can expand the lore in meaningful ways rather than just speed running through a greatest hits version of something we've already seen and played in an unskippable cutscene. Now, this isn't to say video game movies can't work. Some would argue there are several video game movies that work just fine. Those people are wrong, but they can argue it as much as they want. But for Assassin's Creed, at least, it seems TV is the best course of action moving forward. So the real question becomes, how can Ass Creed live-action TV succeed where Fast Creed failed? I'm talking, of course, about the Michael Fassbender starring movie. And while that movie's plot was no less patently ridiculous than, say, I don't know, any Assassin's Creed game ever, the film spent too much time in the present day rather than focusing on the best part of the source material: elite assassins murder parkouring their way across the ancient past. I mean, look, we can stomach some modern-day scenes for context, but just like no one likes an unskippable cutscene, I hope they remember the real reason people flock to these games in the first place. I'll give you a hint. It involves tiny blades hidden up oversized sleeves, then putting those blades into unsuspecting jugulars while marveling at classical architecture. It's simple math. And while there's no casting information or plot details about the upcoming Assassin's Creed Netflix series at this time, we'll keep you posted as we learn more. But in the meantime, there's plenty of ways to get your ass Creed fix because Assassin's Creed Valhalla drops on November 10th. This Viking-themed adventure lets you live your greatest fantasies about invading 9th century Britain, which, first of all, weird fantasy, second of all, that sounds pretty fun. The game drops on PS4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S, Stadia, and PC on November 10th, and on the PS5 on November 12th. But in the meantime, tell me, what do you think of this news? What do you want to see from an Assassin's Creed TV show? And do you think that video game movies are doomed to fail, or can they succeed? Let's discuss in the comments below, and for the latest and greatest in the world of pop culture, make sure you stay tuned to Nerdist.com.